Hey everyone, Ryan from Ebike Escape, and in this video we're reviewing the Ride1up 700 series, a fully outfitted Class 3 electric bike. So let's get into it. Before we get into the walk around, if you are looking to purchase a Ride1up electric bike, please consider using the link in the description, as that helps support the channel, keeps me making videos like this one. Thanks in advance for that. I will also put links to our electric bike accessories list, our top e-bike brands page, and finally our electric bike discounts code page, where I track all the deals of the electric bike companies that I follow. And as I film this, we're quickly approaching Black Friday, and I will also put a link in the description to our Black Friday post. So if you're looking for a good deal on an electric bike, check out that post. Again, using links within those posts also helps support me. With that, let's get into the walk around of the Ride1up 700 series. You can see that we have the Step-thru gray model here. It's a matte gray color that I think looks really sharp. Now, I did decide to go with the Step-thru version because it is accessible. You can see that low step there. And of course, with the 700 series, and I believe the 500 series and the Core 5, if you order the Step-thru electric bike, you get the swept back handlebars. So that's gonna put you in a much more upright riding position. And I should also note the price of this electric bike. So it's $16.95, and really this is the electric bike that really got me excited about Ride1up last year. Now, of course, many electric bike brands have increased the price of their electric bikes due to shipping, tariffs, all sorts of things. So they have raised the price up a little bit, but what I really like about this electric bike is you're still getting some pretty great components, and the price is still attractive at that $16.95 price point. At this point, I have reviewed so many of the Ride1up electric bikes: the Roadster V2, the Core 5, the 500 series, as well as the first gen limited. And I'm really excited to also review their gravel edition of the Roadster. And we have the Prodigy coming out early 2022. That's our first mid-drive electric bike. So I'm going to be excited to check that bike out as well. But with that, let's get a closer look at the 700 series. Start up here in the front. You can see we have 180 millimeter discs up front. These are Tektro hydraulic disc brakes, lots of stopping power, really like that. So if you're looking at all of the Ride1up models, with the 700 series, it is a step up. Hydraulic disc brakes are one of the components that get upgraded. They're a lot less finicky to adjust, increased stopping power. You don't have to squeeze the levers as hard. So really prefer hydraulic. All right, let's talk about the fenders. Now, one of the things that I really like about the 700 series is the bike comes fully outfitted. We'll talk about everything here in a little bit, but you do get front and rear fenders that are metal, and they look really sharp. Of course, the black goes along with the aesthetics of this bike. And one other just aesthetic thing, you can see we have the black spokes. That also fits really nicely into the overall look of this electric bike. And there's those mounting points for that front fender, and this is a quick release, so much easier to take off the front wheel. And let's talk about these Schwalbe Supermoto X tires. So these are 27.5 by 2.4 inches, so they're a little bit wider than you might see on some electric bikes, but this bike is for sure set up for commuting. You can see there's not a ton of tread there, but they roll really nice on the road. I'm a huge fan of these tires. I also think it is one of the highlights of this electric bike. Let's talk about the front suspension here. So you do have a lockout. I'll go ahead and push on the suspension so you get a little bit idea of what to expect from this front suspension fork. Definitely going to add some comfort if you're commuting on this electric bike or just cruising around. And I talked about how this bike comes with everything. You can see we have an integrated front and rear light. There's actually a little reflector here as well. That's a nice touch. This is a Bushel brand. What I say with these electric bikes is these lights are really good for being seen at night especially, but if you're really doing a lot of night riding or even in the day, I always like to put an external rechargeable light up front so you can use it in blinking mode during the day. And of course, some of these higher lumen rechargeable lights are definitely going to help you see a lot better, but of course do like those integrated lights. And let's just talk a little bit about the cable management here. I really like what Ride1up has done. Sometimes you see a little bit of a mess up here, but you can see that these cables are completely wrapped almost from the top here, and they go all the way into the tube right there. So really like the clean look. Nice job, Ride1up, on getting the cable management down. And I also wanted to point out this front badge. This is something that I think is relatively new for Ride1up. They continue to improve these electric bikes, and I believe the badge is something that they've added now to many of their electric bikes. Looks really sharp. It says 1UP and then Class 3 and established in 2018. So Ride1up has now been around for a number of years, and I've really been following them pretty closely and have been really impressed with what they're offering. They're really a great value price brand, direct to consumer, of course. Okay, let's move on to the cockpit here. You can see we have the faux leather grips here, both on the left and right. Definitely a component that you see on many electric bikes. They feel pretty good. Of course, if you wanted to go with something locking, something a little bit more stylish, there's tons of different options. And then of course we have the Tektro hydraulic brake levers up here with motor cutoff. So as soon as you hit that brake, it's going to kill power to the motor. And as far as I'm aware, all of the Ride1up electric bikes at this point come with a left-hand thumb throttle. Now, some people do prefer the right-hand twist grip throttles. It's just user preference. I actually find that the thumb throttles like this one, if you are going to use the throttle quite a bit, your thumb can get a little tired. Of course, this bike is plenty capable on its own. Class 3 speeds up to 28 miles per hour. So I actually find that I wasn't using the throttle a whole lot on this, but of course that's just user preference, what kind of throttle you prefer. All right, let's talk about this display. So they go with a little bit of a smaller display, Ride1up, compared to some of the other brands. You might see a center mounted display. And again, that's one of the things that's really user preference. Some people prefer really the minimalistic approach of having just a small LCD, and that might leave more room in the center, of course, for a light, especially with these swept back handlebars. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the throttle so you get a sense of what this display looks like. So you can see we have the wattage output, and then we have miles per hour, battery capacity, trip, and odometer. And if I hit the center button, we also see max miles per hour, average, time, and back to odometer. Now, one of the things that I wanted to point out with this LCD display is the advanced settings. So holding the plus and minus pedal assist button is going to get you into the advanced settings here. And you can see we have display and advanced settings. I will go ahead and show you the display settings here. So we have a trip reset unit, that's going to be imperial or metric, wheel size, speed limit. So I will say that this bike comes with a top speed of 20 miles per hour. Now that is only with the throttle. So I actually just recently changed this to 28 miles per hour. So if you're watching the riding footage where I talk about max speed with throttle, I actually have now overridden this, and I didn't do it in that riding footage. But you should really know that this changes the classification of this electric bike because, of course, it's a Class 3 electric bike, and so you really shouldn't have a throttle at speeds above 20 miles per hour, and that's actually how it comes from the factory. But actually changing the speed limit allows you to continue to use the throttle even if you're traveling at speeds over 20 miles per hour. Now, changing this, do this at your own risk, of course. You want to make sure you're following any local laws and regulations, but I wanted to point it out. And then you have a setting for sock view here, and that's actually going to be how the remaining battery capacity is displayed. So you can actually go into percent or voltage. I'm actually going to leave it at percent. I think that's a little bit more user-friendly. And then you have sensitivity here, and that's actually the sensitivity of the pedal assist. Now, I believe 1 is the most sensitive, and that's the way the bike comes. Let's go ahead and go into advanced settings here. You can see power set. Really like this advanced setting. So I go in here, and you can actually change the amount of power that you get at the various pedal assist levels. So you can go ahead and customize this anytime a company includes a display that allows you to do this. I like to call it out because it really allows you to customize your ride. And then you have current limit, assistant number, speed sensor, slow start. And this slow start actually comes at 0, and that's going to be the fastest. So if you wanted a little bit slower takeoff, you can go ahead and change that. LCD luminance, obviously brightness of the screen, and you can change the password as well. It doesn't come with a password though. All right, and as you can see, I talked about earlier, these nicely swept back handlebars. You'll see in the third-person riding footage, really like these handlebars. I think a lot of people who are just looking for a comfortable ride will prefer this. And of course, that's why we went with the step-thru. Shimano trigger shifter up here, 8 speeds. Really like the trigger shifters. That's actually my preference. So this is a little bit higher end component than you'll see, of course, on other electric bikes that have a thumb throttle, for instance. And again, that's going to be user preference too. Some people like the thumb throttles, but this is definitely my preference, like the trigger type. And also the other thing I want to point out is with those swept back handlebars, you also get this adjustable stem, so you can raise those handlebars up even more if you'd like. And I also should mention that Ride1up, when they ship their electric bikes, the fork isn't installed. And so you actually have to have that installed. That's why I really recommend having a bike shop set this bike up for you. And if you are looking for help setting up this specific electric bike or just some tips, I did do a unboxing with a real mechanic, a professional mechanic, and he set this electric bike up. It's actually running really smooth, and so that might help you out if you do decide to assemble a Ride1up electric bike yourself. I will put a link in the top right-hand corner of your screen to that video. All right, you do have some Ride1up branding here, and you have a charger port here on the right side. Of course, you can remove this battery, charge it inside or out. Next, I'm going to go ahead and remove this battery. So this is a 14 amp hour battery, and if you're looking at some of the other models offered by Ride1up, some of them that are integrated lift right from the top. That's going to be the Limited and the Core 5. But if you're looking at the 500 series, that one also pops off from the top. Now, what's unique about the 700 series is the battery is actually encased on the lower side here, which can be a little bit more challenging, but I haven't had too many issues, just something more to get used to, but you should be aware of that if you're looking at this electric bike. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the key to the right. That's actually going to unlock it. And then there is a tab here, and that's going to allow the battery to come out. So there is obviously enough clearance for you to remove the battery. You just need to be a little bit more careful. Here's a closer look at the battery. It does have a little indicator right here. And if I'm not mistaken, Ride1up is using Samsung cells in this battery pack. And to put the battery back in, you of course reverse that process. There's a little tab at the bottom here, so you're going to want to get that in there first, and then that's going to allow it to pivot. And then you just simply shut it like so. And then of course, don't forget to turn that key into the lock position. Of course, you do not need to have the keys installed. I just put the keys there so I don't lose them. And on the frame here, you have a nice mounting point for a bottle cage, or perhaps you want to put a folding lock there. That's nice and accessible for the rider. And as far as seats go, we have the Cellar Royale Royal Gel seat. This is a common component that Ride1up has used, I believe, on several of their electric bikes. It's definitely a decent saddle, but if you want more cushion, of course, you can go with something a little bit wider. Check out our electric bike accessories list if you want some suggestions on ultra comfy seats, but this is a very standard seat. I actually find that it's pretty decent. And I do have this seat post right at that minimum insertion point. So this is actually as tall as it goes. So perhaps if you're a little bit taller, you might want to go with a different seat post so you can raise it a little bit. I'm 6 feet tall with a 32-inch inseam, and I think I could raise this seat a little bit more, and I would be even more comfortable getting that full leg extension. So if you're watching the third-person riding footage later in this video, just keep that in mind. The 700 series comes with the Welgo metal pedals that come on so many electric bikes. I think most people would find these pedals perfectly adequate. Of course, if you want some more grip, or if you want something with color, perhaps to customize your electric bike, you can get something else. But most people, I think, are going to think these pedals are just fine. You can see we have a nice kickstand here located towards the rear of the bike, so those pedals are not going to come in contact with that kickstand if you are moving it around. Moving on to the rear here, there's that rear Tektro hydraulic disc brake, and of course those 180 millimeter rotors. And again, one of the things I like about the 700 series is it simply comes with pretty much everything you could need. So this is the rear rack that you'll need to install if you're purchasing this electric bike. You can see 2 mounting points there, and then it actually attaches to the fender right here, and then of course to the frame down here. And it does come with these straps here, so if you wanted to strap something here, don't have to purchase anything extra. And of course there's pannier holders as well if you want to buy some panniers. Moving on to the rear of the bike, we have a bushel rear light. Now, this is not actuated by the brake, so when I hit the brake levers, it's just going to be on or off. There are several brands now that are including a light that actually will flash or go a little bit brighter when you hit brake levers. Here's a closer look at that 500 watt nominal motor that peaks just over 750 watts. Definitely not going to surprise you with the power or kind of jerk you with the amount of power that this motor has. But as you'll see in the first person riding footage, this is plenty capable, and it is definitely a class 3 electric bike. You will most definitely be able to reach speeds over 20 miles per hour. One detail on this electric bike that I thought was pretty cool is if you see the chainstay protector here, it says take your riding to the next level. Of course, that is to protect the frame, but they also branded it here. Looks really nice. That's of course going to prevent your frame from getting scratched up from that chain. In the rear here, you have 11 to 32 tooth, of course. This is an 8-speed, as I talked about earlier. And we have a Shimano Acera derailleur. This is definitely a step up from the super entry-level components that you'll find on electric bikes in the $1,000 to $2,000-ish price range. So this derailleur definitely get the job done. Have had no issues with it so far. And of course, in our assembly video, we showed just how easy it is to adjust this derailleur to get it perfect. And then up front, you have 45 teeth. Now, what I was finding with this gearing is that even in the higher speeds, I was able to pedal pretty easily at 28 miles per hour, definitely spinning the legs a little bit, but I think the gearing is pretty good on this electric bike. All right, that completes the walk around. Let's get to some first-person riding footage. I'll show you throttle only. I'll go through the various pedal assist modes, and then of course, I will take it up the large hill. All right, let's go ahead and get started with the first-person riding footage. Going to start off here in throttle only so you can get a sense of the top speed. Got the current speed GPS on my phone. This is the speedometer app by Cool Nix. And then after that, we'll go through the various pedal assist modes, and then we'll get to the hill climb. Not sure if you will be able to see the actual Ride1up display here on the left side. It is a smaller screen, but it is color. It shows up pretty nice in the daylight here. Okay, here we go. Throttle only. 3, 2, 1, go. There's 11 miles, 16 miles an hour, 17, 18. There's 20. 22, and I think 22 is going to be it. Keep in mind this is a class 3 electric bike, so we should be able to reach speeds definitely over 20 miles per hour. Of course, that is while pedaling though. All right, so now I'm going to start off here in pedal assist 1. I actually have it in the highest gear now. I think I would actually prefer to shift down just a little bit, make it a little bit easier. In 6th gear now, more of a leisurely pace, I would say, going about 14 miles an hour. Let's go ahead and go into pedal assist 2 here. I should note that typically when we ride our electric bikes, we're going in the highest gear and then adjusting our pedal assist level to kind of alter our speed. Going about 14, 15, not a huge jump, I would say, between pedal assist 1 and 2. Let's go ahead and go into pedal assist 3. There we go. Definitely feel a little bit more there. There's 16, 17, think I could shift up here, 7th gear. All right, let's go ahead and go into pedal assist 4. I think we're gonna get pretty close to 20, if not hit it. There's 20 miles an hour. All right, let's go pedal assist 5, shift up, and we'll see how fast this bike can go. I see 24, 25, 27, 28. All right. So definitely capable of reaching those speeds. I was definitely pedaling hard though, I would say. And I think that's a good thing. It's geared pretty well. I feel like pedal assist 5, I don't feel like the motor is kind of overpowering me. One thing I also wanted to call out, so this is a 500 watt nominal motor. They say 750 watts on the website, but I'm getting 750 right there, and I've seen it up to 800. We'll be able to really get an idea of when I do the hill climb test. And I will mention too, with the throttle, I don't feel like it jerks you. Some electric bikes have so much power where you kind of have to be ready for it when you hit that throttle. And I don't get that feeling with this bike, which is good. It's nice, takes off nice and easy. And I feel like it's pretty accessible. Sometimes with those really powerful motors, I think people who are new to electric bikes might be a little bit turned away. And of course, I recommend people trying out bikes if at all possible, because then you get a sense of whether you can handle some of these higher powered motors or not. But this feels pretty accessible and still a class 3 electric bike. Really like that. All right, and I do get the question quite a bit. Can you pedal an electric bike with no assist? I'm actually doing that right now. Turned off pedal assist. I'm in 6th gear. And I would say pedaling pretty easily, going about 13 miles an hour. Of course, on this bike, you have those nice Schwalbe tires. Definitely set up for commuting. But it's also worth noting that the 700 series is a little bit heavier than some of their other models. Just the beefier integrated frame. And of course, when you are pedaling with no assist, hills are going to be your biggest challenge. But from my perspective, this bike would be pretty easy to pedal on flat ground. If you, for instance, did get stuck with a dead battery or something else happened. All right, with that, let's get to the hill climb test and we'll see what this 500 watt nominal, 800 watt-ish peak motor can do. Okay, here we are at the hill that I test out all of the electric bikes that we review, and that's really nice because then you can compare one model to another if you're checking out multiple models and see how they perform. But I wanted to touch on a couple different things as I was riding over here, as I was playing a little bit more with the pedal assist. So the first thing I want to talk about is when I was in pedal assist 5, I was pretty easily able to get 24 miles per hour, 25 miles per hour the entire way over here. And I wasn't working too terribly hard, of course. I don't weigh a whole lot, 145-ish pounds or so. And obviously I'm out on bikes quite a bit, so you can keep that in mind. But I think that's one of the highlights of this electric bike, that class 3 and able to fairly easily hit those high speeds. So if someone really wants to commute and get to their destination faster, definitely stepping up from the class 2 to class 3 electric bike, especially with the 700 series, is going to allow you to hit those speeds. The other thing that I want to talk about, I was playing a little bit with Throttle while I was in pedal assist 5. So I think the way that the company is kind of setting this up as a class 3 electric bike is once you're over 20 miles per hour, the throttle actually doesn't work, because a class 2 electric bike, of course, is up to 20 miles per hour with the throttle. And so I think what Ride1up has done here is once you're over 20, and let's say I'm pedaling, pedal assist 5, going 25 miles per hour, as soon as I hit that throttle, I actually feel the motor cut off. And so that they're doing that to keep it kind of within the regulations, of course. So I just wanted to point that out. All right, enough talking about riding in the pedal assist. Let's talk about how this thing can handle hills. I will put on the screen the specs of this hill so you can get an idea of just how steep it is. And for the first test, we're gonna go throttle only. So we should be able to get up to 20 miles per hour here before we get to that hill. And we'll see what the minimum speed is, and then I'll come back down and I will go through the various pedal assist modes and change gears, and which is what most people are going to be doing anyway. Since I'm just throttling up this hill, I will say I've really been enjoying these Throttle hydraulic disc brakes. And another thing that I just want to give a huge shout out to Matt at All About Bikes. We did a huge video last night. He actually set this bike up for me. He's a professional bike mechanic. All right, we're going 13 miles an hour. And so if you want to check out that video, I will put a link in the top right-hand corner of your screen. But if you're looking at the Ride1up bikes, you do need to install the front fork. So my recommendation to you is price that into your budget. Plan on taking it to a bike shop. You'll appreciate it. I think a lot of people who are setting up their own electric bike, that might be a little bit above most people's ability. All right, I think 13 miles an hour was the lowest speed, and that's pretty good for this 500 watt motor. I'm seeing close to 800 watts power here on the LCD screen. And I should also note that the battery was completely charged up when I started riding today. All right, and we are just about to the top here. Going back up to 17 miles an hour, and we'll get to 20 or so. Okay, now I'm gonna head back down, and we'll do it while pedaling. Okay, here we are at the bottom. I'm gonna go ahead and use a little throttle just to get started, shift down. All right, pedal assist 1 here. Could actually shift up to second gear. Going about 10 miles an hour. Again, don't feel the motor a whole lot. This would be a workout. So I'm gonna go ahead and go into pedal assist 2 here. And I think, as I was talking about before, 1 and 2 doesn't feel like a huge difference between them. Let's go ahead and go into pedal assist 3. Definitely feel a little bit more there. Still think I'd want to stay in second gear, so going about 8 miles an hour. Shows I'm using about 250 or so watts. So that's definitely conserving some battery power, but I'm getting a workout. Let's go ahead and go into pedal assist 4. There we go, feel the motor a lot more there. You can probably see my legs spinning a lot more. Shift up here to 3, maybe 4. Going about 10, 11. Using about 400 watts now. All right, let's go ahead and go into pedal assist 5. So I think that's what I would do if I was going up a steep hill. There's 13, 14. I'm still in 5th gear, so that feels pretty good to me, getting a little bit of a workout, getting up the hill a little faster. And we're using 700 plus watts here. Yeah. And we're just almost to the hill, so going about 15 miles an hour. So that's definitely going to conserve some battery. It is a bicycle after all, so likely want to be pedaling anyway. So hopefully that gives you a better idea of how this bike can handle hills. Now let's get to some third-person riding footage, and I'll give you my concluding thoughts on the Ride1up 700 series. The Ride1up 700 series is actually the model that caught my eye in 2020 when I started to review electric bikes. Here's an electric bike that offers some nice to have features at still a good, even great price. And that's really what Ride1up is known for, getting the best bang for your buck. Sure, the prices have increased due to various factors, and the Ride1up 700 series is now priced at $1695, but we've seen prices increase across the industry. And Ride1up also has a focus on commuter-style electric bikes. You won't find a fat tire e-bike on their website, and this is by design. At this point, all of their models have gone through several iterations to make them better, and I felt like it really showed with the 700 series. This is a well thought out commuter that comes fully equipped with fenders, front and rear lights, and of course that rear rack. You should know that assembly is a little bit more involved, so you'll want to check out our full 1 hour long assembly video or simply take it to your nearest e-bike friendly bike shop for assembly. I'm partial to the step-thru variation for its accessibility and super comfortable upright riding position with the swept back bars. The adjustable stem adds to the adjustability, and the front fork will help soak up any bumps that you encounter. And if you really want the ultimate comfort, check out our electric bike accessories list for some suspension seat post options. They are a real game changer. Speaking of the design of this e-bike, Ride1up recommends the 700 series step-thru for riders 5'2" to 6'2", and the high step version for riders 5'5" to 6'4". For the step-thru, that seems about right, as I'm 6 feet tall, and for reference, my wife is 5'5". Take a peek at Ride1up's dimensions on their website for further fit dimensions. Worth noting is that the 700 series is heavier than some of the other models at 63 pounds, though the more affordable models also have smaller batteries and don't come with a rack and fenders. As I alluded to earlier, the 700 series is at an attractive price point, and if you're looking in the mid $1,000 range, some of these upgrades might be worth the extra few $100. The name brand Tektro hydraulic disc brakes work amazingly, and the Schwalbe Supermoto X tires are super nice. I like the look of this fully integrated battery, even if it is slightly trickier to install from underneath the frame. The 14 amp hour battery uses genuine Samsung cells, and the motor is plenty capable even with its 500 watt nominal rating. There simply aren't a ton of Class 3 electric bikes at this price point, and that feature alone is worth considering if you're a commuter. And having reviewed now the Roadster V2 Core 5 500 series limited, and having been in the Ride1up Facebook group for over a year, I can say with confidence that Ride1up offers good customer support, which I think is partially the reason they have become so popular. The other reason is, of course, their well-priced e-bikes. And this isn't the last time you'll see Ride1up on this channel, as I'm excited to get my hands on the Roadster V2 Gravel, the brand new mid-drive Prodigy, and finally the yet-to-be-named cruiser-style bike complete with a passenger seat. If you're looking at purchasing a Ride1up electric bike, please consider using that link in the description to help make videos like this one possible. I really appreciate your support, and check out my other Ride1up reviews to learn more about their other models. More resources, of course, in the description below as well. I would love to hear your thoughts on this electric bike in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.